Welcome into another video, guys, and I wanted to take the time to do a little bit of a different video today, and talk about the Polaris and talk about the Idris, because this is one of my most popular videos, one of my most viewed videos that I did last year, talking about these two capital ships going up against each other. And I've had time to fly the Idris with the Xeno Threat event that happened earlier this year, and with the RSI Polaris seemingly coming in this year around IAE, supposedly. Well, hopefully it comes out. Hopefully it doesn't get delayed anymore. But I don't think that it will. But given the fact that these, the Polaris is going to be coming out, I figured it would be a good time to revisit this heavyweight matchup, and especially with the RSI Polaris getting its guns upsized. I think it makes it even more formidable threat to the Idris. Now, there are some things about these two ships that we should take into consideration, and we have to take into consideration their main weapons. Right, the main weapon for the Idris is the railgun cannon, and the main weapon for the Polaris are the torpedoes. Now, the Polaris, those torpedoes, they're missiles, so they have to be locked on, and we don't know how fast or how slow those torpedoes will be. So when we're talking about their main weapons, I do think the Idris has an advantage in that department, just due to the fact that you don't have to worry about trying to lock a target. You just basically charge the railgun and you shoot it. Now, the interesting thing about this is the location of the Polaris's bridge. The bridge is right here on the nose of the ship, and if we know anything about Star Citizen, we know that these glass bridges and cockpits, they can take splash damage through the cockpit and potentially kill the crew inside. So that is something to take into consideration. And with master modes being in the game now, it's going to be much harder for the Polaris to side strafe, the railgun shots from the Idris, because I was shooting down players and fighters with the railgun because it's that fast and they don't have the ability to side strafe. So if you get them caught moving flat, like in a straight line, that's pretty predictable. They're easy to hit. So if you can hit light fighters, you can definitely hit this. And if you're in a nose-to-nose battle with the Idris, is somewhere you don't want to be, I think that the Idris, when we're talking about main weapons, the Idris kind of has an advantage in that department with its railgun. Now, the big issue that we're gonna have with the Polaris is, like I said, the torpedoes. Will they be able to be shot down by the Idris's turret gunners and the PDS systems? The answer is probably yes. They will probably be able to be shot down. So how do we land our missiles or our torpedoes on the Idris? How are we going to accomplish that? How are we going to get this done? And I think one of the main ways that we can do this is, the Polaris is, much smaller than the Idris. So I think it should be, in theory, a little bit more maneuverable than the Idris. So if you can get your Idris, not your Idris, but if you can get your Polaris in a type of pancake style situation with the Idris here, if you can get like this view, the top down view, or underneath, doesn't really matter. I don't think you want to be trying to do this from a broadside view, but you want to have it where you have the most surface area on the ship to hit, right? So if you can get this position right here, and depending on how close you are and what the trigger delay time is for the Polaris's torpedoes, you may be able to dummy fire them at a close range, depending, like I said, on trigger delay times and how close you are to the Idris. That's what it's really going to depend on. And the other advantage that the Idris has is that the pilot can shoot the railgun, and I don't think the pilot can shoot the torpedoes, which I hope change that, the pilot should be able to shoot the torpedoes because they have the most situational awareness of what's going on. And if the guy that's shooting the torpedoes doesn't have like an external view, if he can only like, you know, if he had like an external view, like a camera that can like swing around like a turret and lock targets from like any direction, like that would be one thing. But if it's like the you know, how the Scorpius is, where you're just locked in, you have no external views, then I think that, you know, just give it to the pilot. I don't understand why you wouldn't want your pilot shooting, because they have the most situational awareness. But given those two things, I think the Idris kind of has an advantage over the Polaris, even though like my heart, okay, is with the Polaris. I actually want one, right? I can't afford one, but I want one, and I'll probably just have to wait until it comes in the game and grind out the hundreds of millions of credits that'll probably cost to buy one in game. But I do want a Polaris. I do think the Polaris would be a great addition to my fleet. And this is probably the Polaris is probably the biggest capital ship that I would want. You know, I'm not a fan of really, really, really big ships, because like I feel they should be a lot to operate. Like you shouldn't just take them out just to take them out. Like you should take them out and they should be out for a very long time. You should be basically living out of this ship with your crew. And you know, that's kind of how it should work, right? At least in my opinion. I know they're not going that direction anymore, but that's just how I feel, and that's, you know, how I will play these capital ships when I get them. But again, guys, my heart is with the Polaris always. I'm not saying fuck the Idris, like I'm not that kind of guy, but I do think the Idris does have some advantages. For talking a fully crewed Idris versus a fully crewed Polaris, the Idris does have an advantage because the pilot can shoot the railgun, and on the Idris, I don't know if the pilot can shoot the torpedoes. If they can change that, then I think it'll have a little bit better time of dealing with the Idris, and it should be more maneuverable. But again, how much more maneuverable will it be? Because this is still a big target for it to hit, and if we're in a nose-to-nose battle, that is the worst place the Polaris can be, because like I said, of the issue with the glass, you know. And I want the Polaris to win a head-to-head battle, but I just don't see how it can, given the limitations that CIG has put on it. Okay, and that's going to be like my updated thoughts on this heavyweight battle. My heart's with the Polaris, but logic tells me that the Idris should win this battle. But, you know, this is just speculation, guys, because we don't know about the torpedoes yet. We know they're going to do a lot of damage, but, you know, if they're getting shot down before they reach their target, then they're not effective, right? And we want the torpedoes of the Polaris to be extremely effective. We want them to hit the target. So, and with them slowing down torpedoes, I don't know if they'll give torpedoes a buff when this thing comes out. If they'll change that, it'll be something that we have to watch in the PTU. If they start changing missile speeds, then we'll know that they're trying to make, you know, the Polaris's torpedoes a little bit more useful. But if not, it's going to be extremely hard to hit the Idris fully crewed, by the way, with its PDSs and like all those other things. So those are my thoughts on it, guys. Let me know what you think down below. Who do you have winning this heavyweight battle? Like I said, my heart, Polaris. Mine tells me Idris. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Let's have a discussion about it in the comments below. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.